I think we've gotten to this stage of forgetting that we need to work out conflict. And there's a moment where you will agree to disagree with people. And it's okay to agree to disagree, right? You're not always going to agree with somebody of what they're doing and the steps they're taking and how they're living their life. And you could choose to make a choice if you want to be involved or not be involved, right? And we live in this kind of cutoff moment now where this is the part of like self improvement that kind of gets on my nerves because I've explained it in many of my pieces of content where I say, yeah, if someone does this repeatedly, then yeah, like you have a choice to stay or not. But I've seen it so much where people are just saying cut them off. And I'm like, well, everyone is going through something. There may be an explanation to why that was their decision. And we've lost the empathy aspect of life. We've lost the sense of understanding where another person is coming from. And we've lost the sense of also respect because there are situations where we may not fully understand how a person is doing because they're not willing to tell you. Like, I'm just using it as an example, trigger warning. When a person unalives themselves, first thing everyone says, I would have never thought they were a happy person. Well, yeah, not everybody's going to tell you what's going on in their life per se, right? Not everyone's going to tell you what's going on, but we have lost the block a bit when it comes towards actually hashing things out. I've been through that myself many times and I've lost friendships, connections from it because I'm the type of person where let's figure it out. That's just always been my thing. And if a person doesn't want to figure it out, it's not reciprocated. There's not much I can do at that point. And if they're not communicating with me regarding maybe I said something that didn't really rub them the right way, we're not having a conversation about it. I can't help fix it. I can't help correct it. So we're in this position in this life right now where it's so easy to cut a person off and you're going to say that may be the most healthiest thing for you to do, but it's probably one of the most unhealthiest things to do because what if you could actually just sit down and have an adult conversation with them and converse and say, you know what, I really didn't like when you did this and it made me feel this way. I think that's the step we're missing right now, how to actually communicate with one another to the point where it's not just about I'm just going to cut a person off and walk away. It's about let's just agree to disagree. Perhaps you agree with this, I don't, but we can still sit down and actually have like a casual just conversation and we take what we want to take and we keep it pushing. Just I feel like we've lost that block. We've lost that step. And I get it. A lot of people are stressed out. People are upset. People are angry. Life is hard, but life's been hard and upset and difficult for people prior to us in our generation. So we can't really use that as an excuse. We have to really just sit down and understand, validate your own emotions. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying like we actually have to sit down and figure out healthy ways to communicate again. We've lost it. And I know I'm saying this on a social media platform such as YouTube and Spotify is where my podcast is on, but social media has played into that so much where even in the comments, I'll give you an example. I was talking about how you should always feel safe to tell, if you don't feel safe to tell people your next move, that's okay. You know, you don't have to tell them. Someone in the comment of my video said, well, what about your significant other? I tell my significant other my moves because my moves, my next moves are safe with her. I can't speak on behalf of everybody else. And I understand that maybe your next move isn't safe with your partner. That's something that you got to deal with. But even in that, they were like, okay, I get it. Like, you know, it's not just you're watching a 30-second clip of me giving you life advice. There's more nuance to it. And that's where I believe the conversation of having with people back and forth comes in more and communicating. And I love the fact when people comment and they say, well, what about this? I'm like, yeah, let's talk about it because life is not just one big ass cookie. You feel me? And I'm using cookie because I'm craving a chocolate chip cookie. But life is not one big ass cookie. There's so much more to it. There's so much more to it. And we've lost the art of speaking to one another in a healthy way. We run away from it. We're running away from it as people because we're so terrified of what the outcome could be and how the conversation can go. And I challenge us to think about it just a bit differently. What if we actually sit down and just spoke, hash stuff out? Yo, I really didn't like when you did that, Brethren. Like, could we figure this to shit like the fuck out? Like, sis, I really didn't appreciate when you did this. Or and then you reciprocate by saying, you know what? I was unaware. You're right. I see that on the flip side. I apologize. I'm holding myself accountable. And yeah, it does take a lot of inner work to get to that point because one word that I personally despise a bit that's used sometimes way out of context is disrespect. We can't keep using that word and thinking, oh, they're disrespect. No, there's more to it. I don't think anyone really unless they're straight up being an ass, want to disrespect people, right? There's sometimes it's the case, don't get me wrong, but it's when did we get to the point where it's automatically, oh, that's disrespect? No, it's not. It's not everything's disrespect. Take yourself out of the equation for a moment. Be a bystander. I do this all the time. If I'm in a conflict with somebody, mind you, if I'm in a conflict with somebody, I try to remain as calm as possible. This is an art form. It's actually one of my biggest flex. I don't react the way I once did, but part of it is regulating my own nervous system and emotions daily. It's just like I'm not gonna. I get it. You're upset, and to be fair, customer service is what taught me that. Working in customer service is what taught me that. Taking a step back and understanding, yo, that person's not mad at me specifically. They may be mad at a situation. And 9 times out of 10, it's something that happened before they even came in front of me. I was just the last straw. So that's how I see it. But if we take a step back and we look at it from the outside, how are you seeing the situation? Were you wrong? Okay, you know what? Maybe I was a little bit wrong there. That accountability piece, that empathy piece, the communication piece is just missing. We're all angry, we're all frustrated, and we're not seeing the bigger picture. So what I want you to leave with today is just thinking about how ways that you could communicate differently. Not just a straight, I'm cutting everybody off. Just like figure out a way that you could honor yourself by just, and the other person, the other people involved, or the environments that you're in, and the communities that you're in, on how you could communicate much better. How could, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's going to be like off the whim. It's not going to happen that way. But over time, you're going to find like it's easier for yourself. You don't feel as stressed out. You're not feeling as anxious. You're not going to be people pleasing as much because your voice is going to be heard and you're reciprocating that same energy, but you're communicating better. We got to start focusing on communication just a bit more because we've lost the art of communicating with one another. And that's all I have for you today. And I hope that you got some gems out of that regarding communication and how we could do better versus just completely cutting people off because that's not working. Guys, it was never going to work in the first place. I will see you next Tuesday. And of course, as always, walk with peace, walk with love.